Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. In today's show, Camera Tuesday, we're going to talk about Sony ZV-1F. So let's dive right into it. So what is this puppy? This puppy is basically ZV-1 upgraded or downgraded depending how you see it, and it's 1-inch compact prime lens. Be mindful, it's 1 inch, meaning sensor that is smaller than micro four third. Basically crop factor would be around almost 3x, and it's a compact prime. What does that mean? That simply means there is no zoom. There is no point where you can, okay, say it's like I'm starting at 16mm, 17mm, 19. It's just what you get. It's a prime lens, and it has 20 megapixel capabilities, 4K, 30 FPS, not that great, Full HD, 120 FPS. Now it has basically laser focused on starter people, basically people who are starting in this so-called influencer world. Now be very mindful. You may think, do they really make money? Short answer, yes. How much money? Yes, like a lot. Like, again, I'm poor because I'm not that good at monetizing it, but here's the people have made so much money. This sort of tool, they'll look at it, they'll throw it in the garbage. It's like, bro, I don't have time for this. Like, people are using red cameras for YouTube videos, not even exaggerating. So let that sink in. So this equipment made for influencer is targeted for people who are starting out. It's like, you know what, I think I'm cut out for this, because yes, a lot of people come into it, but most people realize very early on it's not for them, unless you're like, you have certain sort of personality traits. Again, it's a job exactly like any other job, so you have to actually enjoy it in order to do it long term. So this tool set is built for that kind of person. It's like just starting out, does not have too much money, just starting out. So it has built-in mics. Now built-in microphone are generally garbage in camera, not because physics stops them from being good, it's simply because companies give you, it's like, dude, if you're using this, you're dumb, so here's a bad microphone. Generally, the best case scenario, even in cinema camera, they give it simply because you want to use it as syncing as scratch audio at best case scenario. So nobody puts effort into making but here this is like, they understand it, like you may not have enough deep enough pocket where you can buy this, like Rode Wireless Go 2, so something better than bare minimum has to be there. So this is a proper microphone capsule system with proper analog to digital circuits, with proper algorithms with noise cancellation. It's a really good starter microphone. So you can do some really good thing, and it also has 3.5mm audio jack input, meaning you can start with this and then you end up with this. So it's not like you have to just first your YouTube payment has to be like getting a better camera. It's like, no, you just get a better mic and you can do even better than this. So that's approach. It has flip out screen. Now be mindful, mobile phone generally have really good cameras nowadays, but the majority of their good cameras is other side of the basically screen. So either you have to have a mirror system, which some people do. I'm not even joking. Some people have figured it out. It's like mirror does add some hassle, but it's like far more eloquent. Just have a mirror and just like, or sometimes if you have smartwatch, you use smartwatch for viewfinder, and then it's just like tick, done. That's also doable. So having flip out screen is desirable in many scenarios. And then it has no recording limit. Now be mindful, recording limit, like, it's sad that humanity has to say that it has no recording limit, simply because somewhere in European Union, some parliament official decided that if your camera records more than 30 minutes, it would be classified as video camera, and then the tax bracket will go up, meaning you have to pay a bit more tax. So company has to keep the same price, either reduce their profit margin or basically increase the cost. So their company decided 29.59 for that reason. But that law, thankfully somebody woke up and is like, dude, this is stupid, and that law was removed around 2 years ago. So even after that, Canon is the last one that is like still holding on to it, but majority of companies have given up at this point in time. And if they have not, you may be dealing with a camera that may be on the pipeline years ago. So there is no recording limit. It has USB-C webcam. Now this is a very desirable function because streaming is a big thing. Streaming from a proper webcam does look good. Like all your laptop webcams, including Apple laptop webcams, looks garbage. If you compare that to even basic webcam, that is like Logitech C920 or C922, those will be better. This will bitch slap any webcam known to man unless you buy something pro end, which generally professionals do, which includes buying a full frame camera as a webcam. So yeah, I specified influencer make a lot of money if they know what they are doing. in the financial sense, not in the channel sense, in the financial sense. So USB-C webcam. So it's a really tailor-made equipment, and it also does video, vertical video. What does it mean here? Now, vertical video in case of GoPro means GoPro is shooting square. You decide in the post whether do you want to crop it in vertical or landscape. Here, it's not that. Here simply means when you tilt your camera, like I do, on every Sunday I upload a shot here. So I, rotate my basically DSLR. Now, here's the problem with that. It does not know that it has been rotated, and it does not add a metadata tag to video file that this file is shot in portrait. So when video editor looks at that file, it does not understand it. It's like, okay, it's a landscape file, so I have to physically rotate it. Basically, it's a manual step. But if your camera is built for that, like vertical way, it has a metadata tag where it adds on the video file. It's like, bro, this video file is vertical. So all your editors like, so you don't have to do rotation. It's like, I got this. It will auto rotate it. So again, tailor-made for starter influencers. So what about the performance? Well, this is the first time there is issue, simply because it does not have face detection. Now, why the heck not? Well, face detection is a common technology, it is true, but not all face detection is the same horsepower. For example, A1 face detection compared to A7 III, it's completely different. But here's the, as long as you have face detection, the algorithm can work on it. It will be a bit slower, it will be a bit shuggy, it will work. But if you remove that to reduce cost, basically this sub puppy is supposed to be cheaper than ZV-1, and the target price is around $500. They threw away that part. Basically, there is no phase shift. Consequence is running on contrast detect. Now, thankfully, Sony does know how to make a very good autofocus algorithms. Even with sloppy tool like contrast detect, it does work. Only problem is it's not as stable as Sony class. Basically, whenever people talk about Sony video autofocus, they don't talk about it. It's like Sony autofocus, done. Like from last 1 to 2 years, have you ever talked about anybody talking about like, oh, Sony is having hard time? It's like, dude, Sony autofocus video works, done. And if it is having hard time, there would not be any other camera system that will like, oh, Sony is having and Canon is rocking, or Sony is having issues and Nikon is flying by. It will not happen. Like in video, Sony was that good. This is the first time where it's like, why the heck you became Panasonic? Like literally, you can see this is a product. I have linked the video down below. You can see it, and it's like the moment he removes the product, it starts to do hunting because it's contrast detect. And same goes, basically, the stabilization is also not good. Now, this was always the weak link of Sony system. Now, I never considered that to be a very big issue simply because you can add stabilization to a system, meaning you can buy a camera. Let's say you buy A7 S3, and again, you are happy with everything that that camera does, but you are like, dude, really wish it had better stabilization. You can add a gimbal to it. Like that's exactly how all cinema industry works. That's exactly how many vloggers use their mobile phones because they have learned it the hard way. It's like, dude, just add a gimbal, solves 98%. Yes, it's a hassle. Yes, you would have loved if it had much better performance inbuilt, but sometimes you have to add it. But here it's like does not justify the sense simply because it's a starter camera. It should have that, and you have very small sensor, and you removed all the possible. Basically, there is no physical sensor movement. There is no IBIS. There is no OSS, basically optical steady shot. So neither the lens is moving, neither the sensor is moving. So what is moving? The digital readout on that, and digital readout is not fast enough because the sensor is also low grade. So if you try to see that. Like again, link the video down below. It jitters a lot simply because of that. See, it jitters. Now because the readout speed is not fast enough, it cannot truly do that. So if you just have it handled, it's good for tripod camera like how my camera is, but not really good for like, vlogging and all that. You may be surprised, it's like, dude, this just does not look good. And it also does too much cropping. That's another frustrating, and that's why you want optical, like physical stabilization rather than like, ideally you would want lens, sensor, then some electrical, and if these three things are working properly, then you will have like awesome steady shot. That is the unique selling point of Panasonic. Panasonic have achieved some like stabilization even on full frame that's like damn good, and Sony is the like a weak one. Canon is the second best one. So what Sony has to do, crop in the sensor now, because there is no stabilization. There is not like, oh, stabilization is doing majority of the work, I'm just like adding it a little buffer. No, it's like I'm doing everything, so crop is too much, meaning even with this wide angle, you will always find that people's head is like clipping. It's not wide enough because you still may have to do like this. The lens is not wide enough after the crop. Before the crop, it's like, okay, good enough, but after the crop, it's not. Now you'll be like, why the heck Sony does not do that? You have, the first camera they released, ZV-1, everybody complained about that one exact specific thing. So you have to understand the physics aspect of it. The moment you make the lens fisheye, the distortion just by the laws of physics become very problematic. You have to add correction glasses in order to fix that. That increases cost. So even if they knew, like, this is a 7mm lens, as in like without the crop factor, it is 7mm if you look into the spec sheet. Why didn't they decide to, like, make it 6mm? Again, they could have done that. The cost would have went up. And again, wide angle inherently has distortion, and once you start to reach 7 or 8 or 5 it reaches a point where it's a flat out fisheye. So you need a very serious corrective lens, very serious vignette correction lens in order to get a usable image. That's why even if they want to go wide, they cannot, not within the cost constraint. They can do it, it's just like doing that in cost constraint is an issue. So performance is flat out not good, neither in autofocus, neither in stabilization, and like image quality is just like okay at best. So this equipment literally comes off as a toy class. It's not a low cost equipment, it's a toy class equipment, meaning it's literally, again, this without phase detection. Again, nobody was expecting you to put a latest and greatest autofocus algorithm here, but put something. How the heck Sony has a scenario where it's like, oh dude, it's doing hunting? How the heck that happened? Like how the heck that happened? And it can't show raw images. This boiled my blood simply because you have equipment and you are considering your audience to be so dumb that they cannot grow up to a point of using raw photography. Think of it this way. Do you give your child a small bicycle, or do you give your child a big full-size bicycle but with trainer wheels? Generally people prefer to do big cycle with trainer wheel. Why? You buy it once, you learn it on trainer wheels, you're not amazing on it, but you learn on it, and once you have learned it, once you have mastered it, you throw away the training wheel and you have a full-fledged cycle. You do not want to use a small cycle because it's like after 1 or 2 years the kid has to throw it away. So that's the whole reason. This sort of attitude towards consumer electronics is really bad. It's like, it's a tool. It's not something that every Tom, Dick and Harry buy. It's a tool. But why the heck you're limiting the tool? And you were like, oh, what's the use? It's a video camera. Again, have you heard of thumbnail? Have you heard into close-up shots? Like, there are logical reasons why would you want raw footage out of it. And again, it's an easy thing to do. Mobile phones can do it, and ancient point and shoot cameras can do it, as in like 10 years ago, 15 years ago kind of point and shoot camera can do this. So limiting that function is really, really frustrating. The fact it cannot support any flash, meaning not at all. Like this hot shoe, it's not hot shoe, it's cold shoe. There is no electrical circuitry there. And it does not even support interactive hot shoe of Sony itself. Like Sony has the interactive hot shoe, so you can plug in microphone. So basically, you don't have to plug in microphone like this, like toing, and then have a cable going into audio. You don't have to do that. You directly connect on better models like A60-100 or this sort of series camera. It has interactive shoes. So you put a proper electrical connection there. Sony's electrical connection. I'm not talking about someone else. Sony's electric. They're like, nope. So hot shoe is basically a cold shoe at this point in time. And let's talk about video. You may like, okay, it's a video only. Awesome. 4K 30 FPS is not good enough in 2022, almost 2023 by the time it reaches market. And that's also at 8-bit. I think we have crossed that point long ago where 8-bit is going to be good enough, because be mindful, at this point in time, mobile phones are working on 10-bit because of HDR. It's a real world thing. Like 8-bit is just not good enough anymore. Can you work in it? Yes. But should you be celebrating that as a new equipment? Hell no. So 4K 30, and again, compromise something but give something in return. Na? Like, let's say if it's 8-bit, no problem, but give 60 FPS, no. It's like, come on, something, like give and take. There has to be like, okay, if this is like, let's say low bitrate camera, but it gives you high FPS. You understand that. It's like, it has the same processor as A1, of course, one of it, because A1 has 2 processors. This has like one of that processor. It still should be enough to, like, actually give a bit more than 4K 30 FPS. That's the frustrating part of it. It has micro HDMI. Again, I don't blame it, but it does reinforce that idea of like it being just a toy. No internal ND, which they didn't understand that in video world you overexpose far often than you realize. So in those sort of scenario, having internal ND is a godsend. Sony knows how to build it. Sony's cinema cameras have it. Sony's, again, the camera, this is a stripped down version of that size. So even you strip that down. So what do you have for video? You don't have fancy specs, you don't have internal ND, you don't have full size HDMI output, and like hot shoes that will allow you to do proper microphone, maybe even Sony's own future iterations of wireless microphones. You can't do that. It's like, what's the point of this? Is like literally buy and throw. It's a use and throw kind of equipment. So an assumption behind this is like, the customer is too stupid, so we're not giving the camera with full function. It's like, think of it this way. Nikon had D3000 series camera that were working quite well, and they realized, like, people complained, it's like, dude, it's too complex. Now what did they do? Did they remove all the function from 3000 series? No, they created a easy mode, and they're like, okay, we're gonna use this easy mode, it's gonna have good GUI, and you're gonna learn it, and once you have learned it, then you go to pro mode, and then you enjoy. That's a proper way of doing it. You make it as simplified as possible. You add some training tool, help tools. You don't remove function from it. So this does not justify. It's like, oh, we have a button that can do background blur. It can't. The aperture is not wide enough. So majority of the time, even if you press it, it will like barely have any effect. And anytime that you are seeing a video footage, pay attention to how far is the background. Meaning, if I'm here, this whole structure is here. If I do background blur, nothing will happen. I have to be very close to the lens. Background has to be very far. Then only background blur works. Which, fun fact, most of the time that's how it works, unless you have true full frame f2.8 lens or true full frame f1.2 lens. Now once you compare that, like, you can have like ambient be here and wall can be here, and then the wall will be out of focus, then you're like, now I get it. So this sort of button, it's like, it's very vicious. It's like, oh, the customer does not know, but neither the customer has the ability to learn also. That does piss me off. It's like, dude, toy that is costing $500 is like not as well. So many times I say, like, should you buy or not buy? This is flat out, don't. Just don't. Just no. Because you will be far better off if you save your money. For example, I have bought this Canon 800D long ago, like I think 5-6 years ago. And again, I had to save up money for almost 1.5 years for my job in order to buy that. Now, benefit, it was a full frame, proper full-fledged camera, meaning instead of buying the cheapest kit lens, I bought 17 to 55 f2.8 constant aperture lens. So benefit is I can use it full frame. It has microphone input, so I can add this. It had like battery systems that are big available, so I can buy multiple batteries on it. So there are many things that allows your camera to truly flex its muscle, and I can even add flash on it. If you buy basically a crappy camera like this one, you'll be stuck. It will be literally just a camera, nothing more than that, and it's not even a good camera. So just save up money so you can buy a better camera. Like the lowest I can think of is A6100, or you can just buy a better phone. Flat out at this point in time, just buy a better phone. Because I specify you can use a smartwatch to do the framing and all that jazz. I get it, like nobody wants to deal with a mirror and all that, but you want to use the backside, no problem. People have figured it out. Many people have figured out just smartwatch is the easiest way of doing that. And if you have to invest money, let's say you do not have latest and greatest mobile phone and you do not want to buy a mobile phone, no problem. Invest in gear. For example, tripod. I guarantee you it will improve your system. Lights, that is the most definite thing. You can still bitch slap a 4K footage with a properly well lit full HD footage, flat out. There is no comparison here. So do not aim for 4K, aim for proper lit scenarios. So have lights, investment, and proper high quality lights that have good CRI, color rendering index. They're expensive, so you'll be like, I understand it. So spend in tripods, spend in lights, or buy better wireless microphones. Like a Rode Wireless, go to the one that I'm using here. And why I'm saying this one has the ability to digital out, meaning in Android you can directly USB-C plug it. Put USB-C directly into your Android and have 2% talking or 1% talking, or you can even do this like 1% is talking, and if you can use other devices as in like computer or something else to send in like background music. Again, you do have to change the mix in your mobile editor, but you can do amazing things with it. So, and this I guarantee you, people will say, dude, your video looks high quality. Why? Because psychologically we value 50% of the video as audio. Have better mic, that's flat out far more valuable rather than buying a cheap camera. So invest in a proper wireless microphone solution and you will enjoy it. And again, do not buy a tool that cannot scale up. I said, don't buy a small bicycle, buy a big bicycle with a training wheel. You can throw away the training wheel, but you cannot make a small bicycle, big bicycle. So, or if you are like your smartphone cycle has completed, as in like most people generally replace their smartphone every 2 years. So if you are reaching that point, add that $500 or like 50,000 rupees to your smartphone solution and get a pro level smartphone that will give you far better performance and output. And even add gimbal. If you have a cheapy mobile phone, which while everything is good, just stabilization is just garbage, add this. It's not that expensive. It's under $100. It's like, heck, you can get $50 variants, which is actually useful. So that's why flat out do not buy this. Just nope it. This is like a very vicious attempt is like, this is a toy that just like you buy it and throw it, and it's like there is not even a point of like Sony ecosystem. I get it, like if you have Sony A6100, again you can buy mirrorless lenses for it and you can scale up to A6600. I do get that, but here there is no point. So it's like I don't get it how Sony is thinking. It's like we're gonna give them bare minimum equipment which somehow misses focus. That's the one selling point that Sony truly has good about it. And again, they has like, we have this S-Log. It's like, dude, 8-bit does not have enough packaging in density. That's why like all the future series went to 10-bit. Then only they can package it properly. So this camera, flat out pass. Like the money, it will be far better spent on other things, far better. Like you will get better, response from the audience. I guarantee it. If you have better microphone, if you have ease of use of basically smartphone editing, quickness, speed, on all that jazz. Add light, I guarantee it will look better. So this was my presentation on Sony's latest toy camera. Hopefully you have liked it, learned from it. In that case, please click the like button, share it amongst your friends. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike. Press it twice to show me extra disappointment. Please leave a comment because I do try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free. And as always, thanks for watching.